start meeting twice a month. So if y'all will join me in the invocation, in the pledge. Please stand with me, please. All right, dear Lord, just thank you for the beautiful day you gave us today. Just thank you for the many blessings you've given the town of Stallings. Be with us tonight. Guide us and lead us in whatever is best for the town. We give you all the praise and glory in everything we do. You're the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and we just thank you for all the blessings. In Jesus Christ's name, I pray. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got public comments that right now that you can speak on anything, and we don't have anybody, and we don't have a public hearing on anything tonight, so we'll go ahead and get started. We got our consent agenda. Does anybody have any need to put it on the regular agenda? Anything?
I'm good.
Everybody?
I'm good.
Everybody good? All right, can I get a motion on the consent agenda
I'll motion it
to
to approve the
Approve,
consent
all right.
agenda.
Second.
a motion by Ms. Drake, second by Mr. Scholl. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, ayes have it. Thank you. All right, reports, nothing from me, so I'll start down there. Graham, do you have anything to report tonight?
Nothing from me,
All
Mayor.
right, thank you.
Nothing, nothing, Mayor.
All right, Heather,
Nothing.
Stephen?
Hey, Wilmot meeting did meet here in Stallings for the second time, so we actually did have the Weddington mayor here with us, which is, he's not typically there. So it was a good meeting. We just basically covered some of the topics around some of the territories that are owned by the county but border most of the towns. Obviously, Stallings has a few of these, but some of our other municipalities within the county have quite a few donut holes and also a lot of extra space, if you will, between them and other towns that are owned by the county. And this group is currently working to work with the actual Union County commissioners to see if we can get some type of movement on how best to handle those areas that border towns that belong to Union County. Right now, there have been a few instances where the county has come in and put things very undesirable next door to like residential areas. And so just trying to move that forward so that towns kind of have a say on what borders their towns or what might land up in the middle of their towns, which is not the case today. And that's really it for me.
Well, from memory, that was the goal of the whole, of the organization, wasn't it?
That was one of the initial goals. I mean, it's kind of tailored to more kind of just what's going on within Union County. I mean, obviously, folks know about the sewer situation. That's obviously a hot topic. And just in general, streets, traffic, everything that becomes a hot topic ultimately ends up getting discussed in there.
All right, well, good. Appreciate your service on that. David?
About a month ago, first week of August, I finished up the Advanced Leadership Corps at the School of Government. And they sent out our certificates of accomplishment and a press release that we could use. And I was hoping we might okay to send out a press release on behalf of my finishing this. And at the same time, while we're talking about it, maybe decide whether we want to do anything from the School of Government of somewhat significant accomplishment, that we just say it's okay to do a press release for the town to do that. Why it's not been done yet, because it's not, we all haven't decided yay or nay on press releases. So whether we talk about it or just give Alex the okay to do it now and in the future, let me know, or let him know.
Are press releases a thing anymore?
I don't know.
I would say post it on social media and
Yeah.
Facebook, and if there's a press release, I'd be okay with that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Get it, we
Anybody
might be
have
able
any
to get it,
concern for that?
No.
might get it on the front page of the Inquirer Journal.
Oh, yeah,
Remember that newspaper?
I do. I know one of the writers for him,
Appreciate you doing that, David.
Awesome, it is
It
good.
was a pretty interesting experience. I met 17 people from elected officials around the state, and a couple of them were in Brunswick County where I was this weekend, and we corresponded, but didn't actually catch up because it's kind of a big county. But anyhow, yeah, it's good. People I can run ideas by, or they can do the same for municipal issues. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Brad?
Nothing, Mayor.
All right, we'll turn it over to Alex.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. There's 3 reports the staff would like to make tonight. First, Chief Franks, followed by Ms. McSwain, followed by Ms. Gross. So, Chief, can I turn it over to you, sir?
I just wanted to give a quick update. August, the police department hosted 2 events in conjunction with the park. We had our national night out at the beginning of August, which was the first one since I've been here and since COVID. We held it in Stallings Park. We had a great turnout. Thank Eunice and the park for allowing the fountain to stay on an extra hour to help draw more people to the event. And then at the end of the month, we had the back to school bash, which we held last year at Privet Park. And we had that again this year. About 175 backpacks full of school supplies. And I give a shout out to Rochelle Pittman. She's one of our corporals. She spearheaded the event. She helped get donations for the event.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Hey y'all, I missed you guys the last meeting, but I'm back. I won't get married again, so check. No, do it twice.
Good idea.
But I just wanted to let y'all know that I've been working with Karen and Chief, and as you know, Parks and Rec can always use the extra set of hands. We've actually been approved and just started this week. We're now stationed to get court-ordered community service through the county. So we actually have our first 2 kids that were stationed here, and they're gonna help us throughout the week, and this will be something that'll keep on going throughout the year. Hopefully they'll help with events, they'll help with park bathrooms. They started cleaning the picnic shelters today. So I really think this is gonna be an awesome asset for the future, and I'll never say no to free help. So I think it's awesome, and I just wanted to share that with you guys.
All right, well, thank you, Eunice. A great summer, though. Thank y'all
Oh,
for
thank
everything y'all
you,
did for us
thank you.
this summer.
Takes a lot of hands, so, thank y'all.
I just wanted to let everyone know, I know the mayor already knows this, but the town was awarded from the Government Finance Officer Association the Award of Excellence in Reporting for financial report for last year. So 6 in a row for us, so it's quite an accomplishment, and I think it really shows a lot for, everyone committing the time and the effort to put this together, because they're long, long reports, as you've seen them. But, just wanted to let everyone know. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marcia. I got a 2-year contract up here, though, I wanted you to look at, though.
For you.
For you.
And extend.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you don't want to look at it?
She keeps laughing.
You just now getting it, okay. All right.
I didn't get it, don't worry.
Yeah, all right. Anything else, Alex?
No, sir, that's it. Thank you.
For the record, could you give us an update on your email about the 3P update?
Sure, be glad to. So we reached out to DOT, I guess it was the end of last week, and had a conversation with them. I believe they've completed updating their survey for that area and are working on updating the design, and have told me that verbally that they're committed to kind of taking over the project from the town, and they're working towards that. Right now, on paper, DOT has indicated the schedule for letting that work, and that's not starting, it's letting it, right? Meaning bidding it out, is late spring, early summer. Obviously, we've got to finalize the agreement with DOT. We just got that agreement. So staff are gonna be beginning, and we'll work with legal and finance and everyone to go through that very carefully. In this instance, details really matter, so we want to make sure we get it right. But it appears like Everything is moving forward with DOT taking over the project and then letting the project again in late spring, early summer.
Well, thanks to council and Stephen especially for, keeping the community updated and, talking to our legislatures and legislative people and things like that. So that's good news. All right. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Melanie, you have anything for us?
No, sir.
All righty. One thing I forgot to mention was Melissa Merrill. She's running for county commissioner in November, but she's going to work for Dan Bishop as an area rep full-time. I guess she's leaving her architecture job. She's probably taking a massive pay cut because those people, area reps, don't make much money. But I think she's using it for the experience working for Dan and, things to come. So just to let y'all know, she starts pretty soon. She's already started? Yeah, so. All righty. Agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, or amendments? Can I get a motion on the agenda, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shoal to approve it,
Second.
second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, ayes have it. All right, we'll start off with the Vickery Greenway pinch point fencing from Alex.
Sure. Once again, good evening, everyone. I'm going to do a brief recap, given some folks weren't here last meeting. First, when the Vickery subdivision was developed, the developer there dedicated some property to the town to be used as a public trail. And so the town went through, developed the Greenway plan for the entire town, which included this as a trail. The town had worked with the subdivision to come up with a set of agreements, how we could take the Vickery subdivision into consideration. And one of the things that came out of that was an area that we call the pinch point, which is an area where the trail gets a little bit closer than other areas due to some utility issues. And the plan was to put $15,000 in the budget for enhanced landscaping there. However, we met last time and heard there were some ongoing concerns, and Councilmember Drake was advocating for a community. And so we went through and took another look at it. And one of the issues that kind of came up was, hey, do we want to put a fence in there? At our last meeting, residents spoke during the citizen comments, expressed a desire to see the town have fencing in that area. Resident concerns included screening and security. And so, long story short, council wanted to better understand it, especially given the wetlands compliance, things like that. To get the cost of adding a fence on town property, that was a request. And work with our design firm to develop a cost for ensuring floodplain compliance, developing a design and an estimate for actually putting in the fence. And as part of that, council advised that they wanted the engineering firm to analyze all the options and recommend a fencing that will last, will look good, and limit ongoing maintenance costs due to the amount of water that was in the area, in addition to providing screening. So we did engage with our engineering and architectural firm. I made a point last time that I saw from a couple other people. We had the right tools, we had the right two-B2 video fences. It's pretty simple thing to do. I've been made fun of several times since then about that point. But really, when it comes to putting up a fence, it's a relatively simple task from a construction standpoint. But because of the wetlands issue, the terrain, all the moving parts, this was a surprisingly complex issue. So as the board requested, we engaged our design consultant and wetlands folks, a variety of different people, research cost for their services thus far to get this permit has been about $2,500. So one of the requests was to look at adding the fencing on the town property. However, in order to do that, it would have to go also on Union County sewer easement. And that's something, to put it as short as possible, Union County is not going to allow us to do. They don't want anything built that close to the sewer easement because they want to be able to bring in machinery and equipment and be able to fix the sewer line if there's an issue. So alternatively, we looked at, all right, what would it cost if we installed the fencing on the HOA property? And, what would that take? What kind of permissions would there be? But going into the actual consultant cost, I was just, shocked by how much it ended up costing in order to put these fencing in. Just going through the permitting process, and everything that it would take in order to meet that goal that we set. Just some things, I'm not going to go through all this and just regurgitate my memory. I know everybody's read it. But just the wetlands, the permitting, the type of footers that you would need, the type of materials that you need had to be more heavy duty than the typical average location. Long story short, the design consultant advised that to make the fencing last in this location and reduce maintenance, they recommended again the heavy duty footers, metal vinyl framing, and a composite plank material that doesn't absorb current. This wouldn't eliminate maintenance costs entirely, but it would reduce costs significantly, and they felt the cheapest option in the long run. One thing that we need to consider, because all these numbers that we're talking about are preliminary, they need to do a geotechnical and boring testing in order to determine a lot of the composition of the soil and what kind of footings would need to be designed, and that cost will be about $5,000 to really kind of nail that down, so we can give that to engineers and they can really do the design. However, the preliminary estimate for the work to be designed based on market conditions, talking with engineers and talking with contractors, and everything else was $131,000. Everything other than kind of site prep and tree removal. Again, this is a rough estimate. We need to get further into engineering, but just for a general understanding. This would include boring, geotechnical costs, base engineering, updating design plans, handling all the permitting here locally with the county, as well as with the state and federal folks when it comes to the wetlands permitting, make sure everything's good. Contractor administration. Wood fencing, even though it's wood, there would need to be some more heavy duty footers, things like that. The cost estimated that we would provide would be about $81,000 for that. So the pros and the cons for adding the recommended fencing. Pros, it should limit the ongoing maintenance costs. It would certainly help property owners' concerns regarding screening immediately beside the Greenway pinch point. And there's a con over here precedent. This is what the pros are referring to. You could respond to the precedent argument that the town will not put up any more fencing moving forward. Argue this is a unique situation because we're not talking about putting up fencing along the entire Vickery border. We're talking about just some area that we already identified for some enhanced fencing. The cons would be just an unusually, in my words, shockingly high cost for fencing due to location, there being a cheaper alternative for screening when it comes to landscaping. I heard one of the concerns is security. I think screening and security, like those concerns can be overlapping, right, of course. But from a security standpoint, somebody could just simply walk some might criticize, the high cost to the number of property owners benefited. Might set a precedent for other residents to request fencing along future town trails, which could increase future greenway costs significantly if we did this in every case. The design consultant advised that typically with greenways and paths, you don't see a lot of vandalism right outside the greenway area. Where you would see vandalism is something immediately on the trash can, a bench. The way our design consultant shared with me is typically parks and recreation vandals tend to be lazy. They tend not to, just be on the trail and sit on a bench and park. So with those pros and cons being settled in the background, there's several potential options the board can take. First is to actually install a fencing. There's a lot that goes into that, so if that's something the board would want to do, we can have that conversation. The second option would be just to go on as we previously agreed to do the landscaping pinch point using the existing $15,000 budget and just move along. The third option is similar to the second in that it would be put landscaping in the pinch point, but doubling the budget for that from $15,000 to $30,000. Obviously, for that one, we need to approve a subsequent budget amendment. And then finally, to set an amount, it could be $15,000 landscaping budget, or whatever amount the board determines appropriate, to partially refund the 4 property owners, or however the board wanted to split it up, to engage a contractor to put up a fence on their own property, as the private properties could assuredly get the work done cheaper. It would be a little higher up, probably less of a wetness issue up there. But I did want to note for this, the residents that I've spoken to over there indicated that their internal HOA rules allow for fencing, but not privacy fencing, so that rule internally within the HOA, it's my understanding, happy to answer any questions that the board might have. I know we finalized all this information, sent it out to the council and the public on Thursday, and happy to answer any questions. Step aside and let y'all discuss.
All right, any questions, Graham?
I have 3 right off the bat. Has the Greenway started, like, the construction or
Yes.
anywhere? It has?
It has. Yep, they've started clearing land for it.
Okay. Then you mentioned this is through wetlands, and that's why we can't put up a fence. How's the Greenway going through? How's it getting past that?
Great question. That was part of the design process. We've gotten all the approvals through that design process already for the greenway section.
It's a typical place to put greenways. Maybe that's where you're going, McAlpine Creek and others. It floods during rain events, right? The paved walkway is covered, you don't use it, but as it recedes, that's how most greenways in our city work.
But we can't put a fence there?
And in some of these areas, we're talking, I mean, it's a stone throw away. I would argue to say, I think it's written that it's 30 feet, but I would argue to say that it's much closer than that. I mean, it's put it into reality now that they've cleared that land. Like, it is literally, if you look at, can you pull up the map where the red line, Alex, shows where the fence is? I think that's a really good indication of just how close this fence is. So you see the circle in the middle of there where it says wetland and it's pointing. Do you see that, Graham? That is someone's property line. So this, with the red, is indicating what the fence would be. The road-looking thing is actually the greenway, and then the blocks that you see are the homeowners' properties. So this greenway is essentially like on their property line. In some areas, isn't it? What is the closest proximity, Alex? Is it 20 feet? What did we determine that it was?
I'd have to go back and look, forgive me. the greenway
Property line,
residential property.
yeah.
Well, I guess I'm just having a hard time understanding why we can't do the fence on our property.
We can do the fence, but
Sorry,
generally, but because if you look there, line, in order to put it within our, so this is the residential lot line,
Mhm.
Hickory HOA, property in the middle here. And this line is actually shown not on the town property, but on the Vickery HOA common area property. So the county owns this sanitary sewer line easement. They will not allow for a fence to be put in within the easement, which necessitates the need to put it within the Vickery HOA easement or within a private.
and then the last question, if we did put a fence on Bakery HO, is it common property? Is it?
It's just the HOA owns it, so it's, which why we, and Roxanne and I had a wonderful conversation with Alex earlier today. We merged our calls and we could not figure out why our HOA would donate and just have a sliver of land back there, and it would, am I making any kind of sense? Like, it doesn't make sense that we would have like homeowners, then HOA would have property, then we would donate part of it to the town. But yes, there is a sliver of property that our HOA does own where it would go on. And I think since all of this has surfaced, we've decided that there needs to be a fence. It's just where is the fence gonna go?
Well, I guess if one were to go, I mean, would we maintain an easement over that land? Because I assume we wouldn't just put up a fence and then be responsible for it, but have no ability to. Okay.
All right.
So Alex, an option 4, can you pull up option 4? So could that $15,000 be amended? Because if you're gonna amend it in option 3, then why can't you amend option 4 for a greater cost to be allocated to the residents so that they could then go put up their own fence? Because we've already got a price of what it would be for us to price it out, and it is nowhere near $81,000. And as Roxanne mentioned earlier, she has a beach home that's in a floodplain. Obviously, she's a block away from the ocean. She has a wooden fence, and she's never once had an issue. And they have a hurricane, and it floods their property every year. So could that be amended if council agreed on that? Could we amend to increase that budget?
Whatever amount to, above that $15,000
Okay.
Well, you said you had amount. What's that amount?
Roxanne?
Is that what you were asking?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, for 3 pieces of property.
And that doesn't include some tree removal, but yeah. There are some trees that would need to be removed back there, but.
And then if we did put in a fence, who's going to maintain it?
depend on the location. If it was on the.
So if it's in the HOA sliver,
That'd be a
right?
topic of conversation, I think. The council wants the town to maintain it, or,
Would,
the HOA be willing to maintain it? I think that's a topic of conversation. When it comes to option number 4, this option that's on private property, meaning the residential lot, if it's put on private property,
There, right.
duty to maintain.
and we already have an existing fence that we had asked that the town create so that it harmonizes with our community. And what was presented to you, Alex, is not the same as the pictures that I sent you earlier, correct? I mean, what the engineers, am I saying that right? The engineers or whoever designed this, came up with this plan for council, it is very urban, whereas ours is not that complex at all. It doesn't even fit the aesthetic of our community. It's very intricate. Do you have a picture of it? It was included in the memo. Yeah, the picture of what they had proposed is just incredibly elaborate.
This isn't the wood option. The wood option, I think, would be kind
and is really what we want.
Taylor, are you suggesting that you talk to the residents and there's one of those options is a winner beyond?
Well, they're here tonight, and I know that they would love to, if given the option, if we could have a conversation with them, because they are the ones that this walking path is in their backyard, quite literally.
That's what I'm asking. That's
So,
all I'm
yeah,
getting
so
to.
as Roxanne, Sean, would you,
Wait a
Mayor?
minute,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
hang on.
What?
That's the mayor's job.
That's my job. Yeah.
Sorry. Justin.
What's that?
Um,
Oh, Melanie, you got?
Yeah, I need to make a motion to suspend the rules according to the attorney so that we can do this. But did you have a question first?
I did have one last
Alright.
question. So if we gave the money to Vickery HOA, or I assume it would go to HOA, then we wouldn't put in any trees, right? Because we budgeted. Okay, but if we gave them the money, we're not doing the trees. Would that be a fair statement?
No, I would say that we would set amount that would refund.
But we also set aside money for, the original amount, we set aside 15,000 to do trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we would scrap that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could leave it in there if the board wanted to, but in my mind.
A fence would replace shrubbery. Yeah.
We take that $15,000, add or subtract it to whatever. But there wouldn't be any landscaping.
I guess then also just quickly following up, we have an agreement with the developer, right? Initially about this? Because it.
Are you talking
looks-
about Aria? The
Yeah, so
apartment?
The
town
developer-
property, the developer who developed, subdivision, they dedicated the property that the town as part of the Vickery subdivision development. While that was all being developed,
But I guess my point is that part of that entailed an agreement that we'd put in trees. So, I mean, I worry about if we switch, then if developer ever comes back on us and says, well, you also have to do trees, or why you need to.
I wouldn't be,
I know but I would, that is something, just I'm expressing my concerns that we have a agreement and that they gave us something, we gave them something in return, and we're changing.
I think that was decided upon after the developer I think the developer was out of the conversation at this point, right, Alex? When this was decided, it was the HOA and Isaac.
that's right.
There was
Thank you. I'm
nothing with
sorry, I was
Fonterra.
misunderstanding the question. Councilmember Hall. The agreement was with the HOA. Added to the request of the resident. Wasn't an agreement with the developer. The developer simply dedicated the property to the town.
All right, Brad, could you make that motion, please?
Yeah, Mayor, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to allow for further public comment. Is that what we do?
All right, motion by Mr. Richardson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. All opposed? Oh, the ayes have it. All right. Who wanted to speak?
Yeah, I can go.
Sir, could you come up here? Come up here, state your name and address, please, for the record. Thanks.
Sean Gold, 2015 Donovan Drive. I guess a fundamental question would be, I would assume no one on the town council significantly negatively impact the property value or the privacy of any resident.
Well, this is not a dialogue. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're looking for a statement from
Yeah,
me?
statement, let us know your thoughts and your recommendation.
My thoughts are, $15,000 is not or privacy that's needed there. I think the right decision to accomplish the objective of the spirit of what was agreed to originally and Stallings is to install adequate privacy screening, which I think the only way to accomplish it is a fence. We talk about the fact that it's a wetland, and that's prohibitive in terms of putting fencing. How is landscaping going to be affected by this wetland? What's the maintenance associated with it? This area floods fairly significantly. Now, the flooding is vast in terms of its coverage. It's not deep. So when I look at it practically, you could install a fence off the ground. The only thing that would be impacted is the wooden post. The horizontal screening would not be impacted by the flood. Deterioration of the fence having a 5-year life. That's the engineer. I'm not an engineer, but fishing piers are built out of wood. They last a long time. Venice sits on wood posts, and it's been there for a very long time. So, again, I think to provide the residents in the spirit of what was originally agreed to with the HOA, I think the fence is the right decision.
And do you have any concern of it being on your property, or what's your,
The only concern I have of it being on my property is we have got to get our HOA. I think it's a reasonable request for the residents, but it's not a given.
and is anybody from the HOA here tonight? All right, thank you, Mr. Gold. Anybody else?
Tim Russell, Sean's neighbor, got 2 double I'm kind of shocked at the pricing that they came up with. $130,000 for the structure. We did get a quote from a local fence company that Roxanne knows, she's on the other neighbor across from Sean. And we're the 3 properties affected here. And I think I saw a 4th property.
Alex,
Mayor,
you,
would you like me to respond?
Yeah, I thought it was for property.
Yeah, I would. And Tim, can I join you real quick? I could talk about it, but
Wasn't it
I
for?
think visuals are always
Hillary?
helpful.
Roxanne and I spoke with Alex about this earlier. Truthfully, I was under the impression prior to speaking with Alex, that it was 3. Were you not, Roxanne? So when we saw a 4th property, you can speak, Alex. I thought it was 3.
Okay.
I didn't know it was 4 until today, or until the memo came out.
Toggle between a couple of hands here. You can see the pinch point here. I believe this is property here. I believe this is Gold's, I believe.
Correct.
And the Russells, and then the name starts with a D. Forgive me, I don't believe I'm that. You can see there. It is it's primarily the Russells and the Golds along the entirety of the property line, and then partially on the Hoots, partially on this other property. And you can see it more clearly here.
It is size, yeah.
So all the plans were just mimicking
Okay. All right. Thank you, Alex.
May I ask a question before Alex leaves? Alex, that one picture you showed, of the aerial, from the GIS.
Yes, sir.
Is that, what's the back of the lot? Grass or trees?
It's trees.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Golden, you got?
So, do you want me up there?
Yes, sir, yeah, so we can record it.
Let me clarify what vegetation is there currently. In most cases, it is trees, but it is trees that have no vegetation on the lower part of the tree. So it's not providing screening. It's
No.
just tree trunks.
Gotcha. Thank you. Anybody else?
Very misleading for sure.
You just continue, okay.
I thank you for pointing that out. They're new neighbors, and they just moved in 2 months ago. I don't really have a preference. I'm more concerned about security. Since we're having apartments built at the end of our street, one day when they're built, we'll have folks from those apartments halfway. And I'm more comfortable with if it was homeowners or townhomes, somebody that takes responsibility for their property. Renters, I don't want prejudice, everybody's got to have a place to live. I just want to make sure that my family is safe there. I don't know what kind of barrier, we thought the best thing would be a fence. Anybody would agree, I wouldn't agree, I wouldn't even let you do that. Let the county spend that kind of money. I think if we can get a committee together, maybe talk about this a little bit further.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. Yeah, Stephen?
Okay. One quick question, if you don't mind. If it were to be the homeowners build a privacy fence, that option 4, I mean, do you guys think that y'all would go in together, I mean, and have one contiguous fence back there, or would each one of you individually probably do?
Yeah, I would say we would probably do a contiguous.
Okay. So Alex, is that something that we could work with the HOA to kind of, I guess, speed through any type of HOA type rules?
They might have to get
Yeah.
a vote to change the ordinance.
Yeah, I'm afraid the town wouldn't have the power to do that. That would, typically in the covenants, there's an outline process for changing their rules.
I thought most HOAs too have a governing board where they can suspend, sort of like our, oh man, just jumped right out of my head. But that they can overrule the covenants by a vote. Is that not something that they can do?
Do y'all have an art
Covenants run with
committee?
the land?
We do have an art committee.
You have an art committee? Okay.
We do.
Don't covenants run with the land? On the deed, isn't that part of the, that's what you have to overcome. You can't just suspend it.
Covenants.
Typically, those rules and procedures, but I think here what we're talking about is it being on the private property. Are you talking about changing the
Yeah.
internal rules to
Y-
allow
yeah.
fencing? Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm talking about, but I mean, if the HOA basically said, hey, yeah, you're gonna build this, but we're not gonna ever fine you, that would be an option that they could vote in.
Then
Yep.
would the HOA be responsible for maintenance?
Well, see, that's, I think
Yeah.
let's focus on what we can do.
Yeah,
You know,
I was just
mean,
asking some
you know,
questions.
they're gonna have to go, or, the residents gonna have to go to the HOA, not us, and get some type of, variance or something like that. So I want us to focus on what, representing the town, what we can do to help them, so. And that's why, you know, the four options, I think, I think they're good options, and so that's why I wanted to, Ms. Hoots, you wanted to, are you Ms. Hoots?
I am.
Okay,
Obviously, we know this, so we live at 2019 Donovan Drive. And, you know, and I'll just restate the safety thing again too. I was 100% fine with green. We've been there from the start, so involved in this, and I was 100% supportive of shrubbery. And we found out we were getting apartments, and that changed it for me. So the extra foot traffic that we would have made a big difference from what I thought we were gonna get. And, you know, so that being said, I was on board for a fence. And I too would be very upset at having to spend $131,000. I just don't think that's very good use of the town's money. And so I'm not in favor of that one at all. And I personally feel like it's fine if it's on our property. You know, sometimes I was on the board for 3 years, so of the HOA board, and I do know we do have to take a full vote. I was part of the board that voted to let the town use some of the HOA property at the pond and at the front and one little piece further on back. And, you know, we had some pushback on that by some of our neighbors. And, you know, sometimes they're agreeable and sometimes they're not. It just depends, but that would take a vote, and it takes X number of days before you can do this. There's a lot of steps to that. And so I'm perfectly happy with it being on our property. And I think we had discussed it being one continuous thing. Privacy-wise, safety-wise, the Russells and our cells are Tim's not now, the fourth house, and our cells are at the end of that line, so there wouldn't be any fencing, and yes, someone could walk around, but we're fenced with the black aluminum 4-foot fence that we're allowed to have in our neighborhood. So that's my feelings.
And earlier when Roxanne and I spoke, I think, you know, to piggyback on what you say about the ARIA apartments, it's almost that the Greenway is more advantageous for them because of the bridge that will connect them. Whereas we, Vickery residents, and you guys that have to be inconvenienced by all this traffic literally in your backyard, we have to go to the entrance of Vickery, cross a street, go down the road, cross a hawk walk, then get on this Greenway that's a half a mile path. So it's more advantageous now for the apartments when it's affecting not only our property values, but our safety. And then we talk about vandalism. Well, if you think someone's going to carve their names in something, what do you think they're going to do when they have 5 feet of access into someone's backyard, especially when the Golds have a pool? And that's a huge liability. So just something to think about.
all right.
But anyway, so
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
If I could just say one more thing, just as a practical example, the implications of property values in Vickery. A house 2 down from us sold a few weeks ago. Serious buyers, but the last 2 serious buyers were contemplating their offer because they were concerned about the Greenway.
That is true.
And so I just ask, you need to be responsible, of course, and I agree, $130,000. What I would ask of the council is to also have empathy. If you were in our shoes, we've got a lot of money invested in our homes there. $30,000, $40,000. I'm not trying to argue against the Greenway. Privacy that doesn't negatively impact our privacy and ultimately.
Thank you, sir. All righty. Did anybody else want to speak? All right. All right, council. So we got 4 options there, and
Mayor, I've got thoughts, and I don't live in Vickery, but one day I'd aspire to. It's a beautiful neighborhood. Probably literally one of the best neighborhoods in town. So thank you guys for coming. So And Mr. Gold, thank you for bringing up the pier. I brought that up last meeting. I know they build piers in the ocean, and I wondered about the fence, and I know it can be done. I'm concerned, though, and I'm concerned about the failure of the fence nonetheless. Here's what I'd recommend. I'd recommend striking option 1 and striking number 2. Tonight, I don't think we can afford the fence. No one says we should afford the fence, your taxpayers too. I don't think we can go as is. I think we're left with number 3 or 4. I'd propose, and again, that may be too indecisive. I'd propose we ask the citizens to work internally on the fence on their own property with HOA approval. And the fallback would be with some level of reimbursement from the town. I'd assume you're meaning 100% reimbursement. You didn't say that, but I assume that's what you meant. Subject to some upper limit, I guess, right? I don't know what that would be, but short of that approval from the HOA, then I think we fall back to really intense, heavy landscaping. And once the grading is finished, I think we can all take a look and see if there's a room for a fence that would withstand some sense of water. I feel like you're seeing the grading happening out there now. We're going to get a real sense of where the slopes and what the engineer opinion looks like. Not to question an engineer, but oftentimes an engineer will overbuild things. I think we might be able to find a solution, 3 months from now than today. That's just what I'm thinking. I'm amenable to reimbursing for a fence, but I'm only if you want it and if your HOA will approve it. Otherwise, I think we just have to punt and see when we've got landscaping, or excuse me, when we've got lines and borders finalized, we can make an intelligent determination of where a fence might go.
Well, my recommendation was going to be, we went, in the option 3, we went from 15 to 30,000. I'm okay with, we tell their HOA, these residents, we're going to give you $30,000. And so you can put it on, develop the fence. Ms. Hoots has already gone out and got estimates on fences. So we give them $30,000 and we're out of it. They contact their HOA. They're responsible for the maintenance, and we're done with it.
I
have-
Hold up. Yeah.
I do have a little concern for that because we want to ensure that they are using it for an actual fence.
After completion.
Right, so I think we would need receipts,
A reimbursement.
reimbursement to make
Yeah,
sure.
but we set a hard number. It's $30,000.
Right, not to exceed.
Yeah, not to exceed $30,000.
Right, I think if we do it not to exceed and we have the receipts, then we should be fine.
It would be a cap, right? Because
Yeah, be a cap.
That's what I was gonna say, like, if they come in at 25, cool.
Yeah.
Private market work, private sector
Yeah, right.
works.
You thinking on?
Yeah, I definitely think we're all in favor of a fence, correct? So, don't outrule option number 3 and 4, but I think to your point, Brad, you can nix option 1 and 2. But yeah, if you give us the budget, we've already assessed that we can have someone that can create a fence that harmonizes with what's already existing in our community and what we want for far less than $131,000. That's ridiculous.
Ms. Hoots,
I think I just kind of answered my question.
oh, okay. Yeah.
If I could, and I think,
Mr. Gold, could you come up here, please?
You guys, sorry.
so I think as Mr. Richardson said, I do think, I think the probability is extremely high that the HOA will approve this is an extenuating circumstance out of our control, the commercial development coming in our backyard. So I think they will approve it, but if they don't, then I would ask that there's a contingency plan that intensifies 15 to 30 in terms of heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We got,
that's a,
all right. Any other questions, discussions? I think we have some going forward that we need a motion on that somebody can summarize what we just talked about
I can try, and everybody, y'all correct me, everybody help correct me where I'm wrong. So I think the understanding is we want to take the $15,000 landscaping budget and we want to change that into a fencing reimbursement budget, but also double it. So that would mean there would be $30,000 that the town would reimburse the residents who live along the pinch point. I do want to clarify which lots we're talking about, because that's showing 4. We've got 3 here tonight. So I think that's important. And they would, the residents would put up the fencing, they would pay for it, they would provide the town of proof of payment, and then we would write them a check for reimbursement.
I think, may I?
Yeah, sure.
Part of that, when we look at that, there's 2 full lots and 2 partial lots. There needs to be some way of spreading that adequately amongst the 4 property owners. 2 of them will get full. The other 2 will get whatever percent of foot line.
They're not gonna build half a fence.
No, but they're gonna, the reimbursement wouldn't cover their entire lot. Is that what we're thinking? Or are we thinking of 4 entire lots covering them,
It's,
reimbursing them?
you guys really,
We're at $30,000, and how they design it is up to them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's-
But I do think it matters from a reimbursement standpoint.
Estimate?
Because, David, you bring up a good point in that what we're seeing there, it's not the complete lot. Brad, you also bring a good point, and Ms. Hoots and I have talked about this. You don't want to build half a fence, right? So just want to clarify, you know, obviously the Golds and the Russells have the bulk of the pinch points where it gets the closest. So you've got 2 options. You could distribute it evenly, or you could give the Golds and the Russells a greater proportion.
Wouldn't it just be receipts? Wouldn't they just come up with the receipts? So they decide it amongst themselves, they build the fence, because it's one continuous fence, come back to us with the contractor's receipt.
And I'd
Am I
recommend.
missing something? Sorry.
Bring back,
Who would pay for it?
yeah,
So-
bring
We're
back.
reimbursing.
Reimbursing who?
The homeowners, I thought.
yeah, it's whoever
Individually?
pays for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'd
But it
recommend,
would come out of one, I mean, get the receipt split.
yeah, I'd recommend that they bring their plans in and the costs in
Yeah.
ahead of time. Let Alex and engineering
Okay.
people look at them. And then y'all decide work with the homeowners on how the 30,000 gets
That's
split
good.
up. And so that they don't come in, so one of them doesn't spend 35,000 and then goes over the 35,000, so. But then also include in there the maintenance, future maintenance of the fence is up to the residents.
Right. Does, property owners, does that work for y'all? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. The estimate.
Sean, you gotta come up to the thing. You can't just keep talking.
But I think the only thing is the estimate of whatever it was, 25, did not contemplate the 4. What I would ask is.
Or the tree removal, there's like 3 trees, I think but is that on Union County? Now I'm confused, because I always just assumed that was, just keep going.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing that I would ask is 30, 35, I don't think it's gonna exceed 40 in any way, shape, or form. Get it designed and done correctly.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring in the estimate beforehand. So we'll set it at 30,000 tonight. And then bring in the receipts, the estimate, the design, and then if it's 33,
Do I have the authority to do that?
Yes,
You know? Okay.
you'll bring that back to council.
So we're not
Would
voting,
you like me to bring it back
Yeah,
to the
bring it
board?
back to council, yeah.
Okay.
so we're not voting tonight. You're just gonna, we'll vote on the,
So I think what we're doing is the residents are gonna get a cost. We're just gonna focus on these properties, 3 properties, and they're gonna bring it back in. It's 4. So are y'all gonna engage with the 4th property owner then? Okay.
The Debbie's.
This size?
This size. Look at
Yeah.
you, Graham.
well, they're less impacted, it looks like anyway, but if I see their property right. But
So y'all get a cost estimate. We'll bring it, we'll talk. If it's within 30,000, we'll come back. We'll get board approval. We'll go from there.
All right. So that's the motion.
Second.
And, now you need to say that.
You need to make it.
I thought Alex made.
No, he can't make a motion.
Okay. So I move that we reimburse.
You don't need to repeat, you just
Say
say,
so moved.
just,
So moved.
yeah, so moved.
Did you get all that?
Yeah.
So moved.
Alex, I mean,
So moved.
thank you, Brad.
Second,
Seconded by Mr. Scholl.
or Taylor, right? Okay.
I second it.
All
Is that
right,
what
seconded
you're
by
saying?
Mrs. Drake.
Okay.
We good.
Any
Ms.
further
Clerk?
discussion?
I give it to her.
They can.
All right,
Make us
all in
sound
favor?
intelligent.
Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All
Aye.
right, ayes have it. All right, thank y'all. All right, next up is Aaron.
It's a debate. If there's a
Waste
debate, I
connection.
want to arm wrestle Mr. Gold. If there's a tie or a debate, I want to arm wrestle Mr. Gold for it.
That would be fun to watch. We'd sell tickets.
It'll be short.
Last motion, by the way, is what I call clerk's choice.
Okay. Fair
I'm
enough.
just kidding,
Fair enough. No, that was good. That was very compelling.
just kidding, just kidding.
Well, we cleared out. Stay awake back there.
Congratulations. Yeah. Did you guys have a good time?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It like just happened so fast.
Yeah.
It was like I came back and worked bench. I was like, yay.
Mayor and council, in your packet was a memo regarding our contract, possible extension with Waste Connections. And I gave you a little bit of background on how long we have been using Waste Connections, the contract expiration date, and the different options and highlights that we have in that contract. What I did is, I've done this now for the past 2 years just to kind of see where prices were going and what was happening with area municipalities. So between ourselves, Mint Hill, and Indian Trail, I have studied their contracts and what they're paying now versus what we're paying. Now, I will tell you right away, it is not apples to apples. If any of you looked at the Excel spreadsheet that I sent, there has to be some assumptions made, and you have to look at, because everybody has a different contract. Some people pay fuel surcharges, some people pay tonnage. So there's a lot of different ways a contract can be put together. However, in our current contract, we do have annual CPI increases, which is common. However, for us, it is capped at 5%. I don't have to tell you that this year that made a massive difference because it could have been 10% or more. So that was a big thing in our contract. We also do not pay for our annual pickup. That is included in our contract. We also do not pay fuel surcharges or tipping fees. Also, some of you may remember fairly recently I came to you with a contract amendment where they are now sponsoring the town's 2 annual Shred It events that we have. And then they are also sponsoring the Parks and Recreation annual Christmas event up to $2,000. So those are some of the highlights in our contract. Based on all the research from the surrounding municipalities, the ones that we touch, we are paying approximately $1.50 less per household per month than our other surrounding municipalities. So what we are requesting of you tonight is to direct staff whether or not to begin the process of executing one of the available 2-year extensions in the contract. If you choose not to do that, what staff will do is begin the process for going out to bid for solid waste services. And that is something that would have to be done now. It is an extremely large endeavor, and we would have to begin that process fairly soon to ensure that there is no lapse in solid waste pickup. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that is just the summary from the memo.
Remind me, what's the tipping fee?
A tipping fee is an additional fee that they put on the garbage collection. I don't even know the parameters on it because we don't pay it,
Okay.
to be very honest with you.
All right, David?
There's been spells when they've had service issues. They seem to have responded fairly well and fairly quickly because I haven't heard a complaint in a long time.
Yes, currently
So-
our project manager, if you will, or our rep for Waste Connections, he actually lives in Stallings.
Ah.
Oh, that's
He
convenient.
he has been very easy to work with, very responsive to us. If we have a major issue, I know I can call him and he is on it. You may see him riding around in the Waste Connections pickup truck because he's the gentleman who will come by and get anything that's missed or if there's any issues or investigate any problems. He also rode around town for an entire week with every truck that goes out, getting a specific inventory of the entire town and exactly how many homes we have that are picked up and utilize the service.
So what I was gonna finish was, because of that responsiveness, I'm in favor of this extension.
Anything else, Aaron?
No, sir, that's it, unless you have questions.
Yeah, any questions, comments?
Feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah, Graham?
Just so I'm 100% clear, the extension includes a 5% cap.
It depends on whatever CPI is at that year, but yes, it would be capped at 5. If it is lower, it would, if it's 3, if CPI is 3 for that year, it would be 3. But it would include the cap of 5, correct? The terms of our contract would not change for the extension.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Any other questions? Aaron, comments? All right.
Just one comment.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna get burned hard in 4 years.
Well,
Can we get some more extensions?
I'll ask.
all right, can I get, what's the pleasure of the council then?
Make a motion to move forward with this contract extension for 2 years.
I'll second it.
All right, motion by Mr. Scholl, second by Ms. Drake. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, ayes have it. Thank y'all. Thank you, Aaron. All right, citizen survey. Aaron, you up again?
Yes, sir. The next item is something that we've brought to you a couple of times, and we would just like some direction on how council would like to proceed. As you may remember, we have contracted with Western Carolina University. I almost said app, excuse me, Mayor.
Yeah, that's
With
horrible.
Western Carolina University and their Public Policy Institute to create a citizen survey for us. There have been some delays due to personal circumstances with the professor, et cetera, but we had presented the council with his first draft and asked for some feedback. To date, we haven't received much feedback, and it may be due to this is just not something that council is interested in pursuing this particular fiscal year, or maybe you want to delay it into another fiscal year or not move forward with it at this time. Either way is fine with staff. We would just like to know how you would like for us to proceed with this project.
Any comments?
I can say for my own, I think Heather sent us a text one day and asking about feedback. And I guess I was confused on, we were actually supposed to provide you feedback during that time period. So I'm okay providing feedback on, if we can get kind of that draft again, I'll be glad to provide feedback.
Thank you, Stephen. Anybody else?
I-
Graham? Oh,
Go ahead, Graham.
who's ever-
I'll just say I dropped the ball as well. That being said, I think last time you brought this up, when I was here, you made some good points about that it was designed specifically to capture certain items and worded a certain way. So I think a lot of my feedback initially was with the wording, and if that is wrong, then I'm fine with going with what it is now. So that would be my, that's my vote. I would say just let's send it out. I know it's long, but
All right, David?
I'm fine with eliminating the survey for this fiscal year and bringing it back next time we need specific topics covered in the future, obviously.
And that's what I'd like to do, just, let's wait till next year. I mean, we're already into September. And,
My only regret in doing that is, you all know me, it's free now.
yeah.
It won't be free then, or it's through the school, so it's not expensive, but that's my only regret. But I don't think we have anything specific enough that we'll be able to accomplish soon enough that would warrant it rushing it through this year. I think next fiscal year might be the better option still.
Well, now that I'm rethinking my position. Right here.
But it is free, right?
Free, Mayor.
Yeah, I heard that. free.
I know.
Reminded me that. yeah.
Just to clarify, the price was initially low to begin with. They were doing the
Exactly.
work for free. We were paying though for the mailing,
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
It's not expensive, it's just,
But
well, to continue giving you feedback, we can do it through the next quarter, through December, because it's gonna be, you're gonna be taking time off, everybody's taking time off, and then approach it in January, let them know we're giving you feedback. And in January, we'll push on this. Everybody all right with that, give them feedback for the next quarter? Or is that too long, or?
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna offer it again. Wasn't there a deadline?
there was, but because the professor himself had some personal extenuating circumstances, it's kind of been open-ended because it was of, something that he caused indirectly. However, I can certainly speak to him again because this was initially going to be done by his graduate class. It's the Public Policy Institute graduate class there. I'm sure they do the class every year. I don't necessarily think this was a one and done type thing. It's totally up to the council. The only caution I would give you is if there are items in the survey that come back from the public that the public wants to see, you would want to make sure you would be able to identify those and address those so that the public feels validated through the survey.
I like your January timeframe. I think it sets it up for the retreat discussion on priorities, so you can think of it that way.
Yeah, let's get some feedback from the professor.
I will.
And then come back to us and let us know what he said.
Okay.
And then we can give you feedback. Might take me a couple months to get feedback. I don't know. Everybody all right with that?
So, from my understanding, we're gonna extend just the period for the council to provide feedback. Ms. Nichols is gonna talk to the professor, confirm the timing of everything, and then come back to the board after that deadline passes.
Well, and if he says, no, you need to act now for the next 30, 60 days, then we'll act one way or the other.
It's been such a long time since I've read the survey. Is there, from this group here, is there specific things that we're looking to target identity-wise?
It was so long, I don't remember.
And that would be important to determine, and I think that's a longer discussion amongst you as a council. If there's certain areas or certain projects you want to identify that you wish to receive a structured public feedback. Obviously, we always have public comment and you get public feedback. But
And then as Brad said, we'll have our planning session in February.
And I guess that's where my question's coming from, is like, normally when we put together, I'm thinking business side, when we put together a survey, it's to gather criteria to turn into action items. And I guess, other than the downtown right this minute and the Greenway, there doesn't seem like there's there's economic development. I guess, is that kind of where, and this is an opinionated question for everybody. Is that kind of what we're looking for, is feedback on kind of areas of work that we're looking to move into? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand. Just kind of or is it a general survey, or, I'm just asking opinion.
I felt like it was kind of general.
Well,
But then how will we know what people want us to focus on for our retreat if we don't send the survey over now?
Well, I'll tell you, the last one we did was, rank, what's your priorities, recreation, public safety, transportation. So it addresses, what's your priority? And so you tabulate them and come back and get the results. So that's what this one was. It was, more detailed. Got to shrink it down because it was 6 or 7 pages. That's what the survey. We have our priorities, which Alex details them out for us every year, you know, those are the same priorities of the town. That's what you ask in the survey, is economic development. Where's that rank? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever ranking system they use.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'd say don't worry about maybe the specific questioning in the text.
Yeah.
Just let Aaron know, what you want to get feedback on from the citizens. That make sense?
All righty. Next up, closed session. Can I get a motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A36?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shoal,
Second.
second by Mr. Hall. All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
That ayes have it. All righty. Yeah,
All right.
let y'all leave.